and it spreads kind of like a wildfire. And I think if you had enough people doing it, what would happen? The peaceful people would promote peace, and there'd be peace. You know, this is a German-based group. We have groups in Jerusalem. That always gets me. Healing. That's what it's about.
Im Jahre 2002 kam ich nach Israel und habe in Jerusalem eine Gemeinschaftsstunde unter anderem.
In the year 2002, I came to Jerusalem, and amongst other events, I held a community hour. A woman came to the community who was very skeptical, and it showed in the way she was sitting. About halfway through the community hour, she started to cry really bitterly. Gradually, she calmed down, and at the end of the hour, she confided in us that she had come with deep hatred of the Germans. She was still holding on to the pictures of her childhood memories, when she lived through the persecution of the Jews, and her whole family had been killed by the Germans. And she was the only survivor.
Und sie war die einzig Überlebende. Und so saß sie vor mir und ich stand vor ihr als Deutsche.
And so she sat in front of me, and I stood in front of her as a German. Afterwards, she hugged me, and we felt a real heart connection. And she reported she's free. She doesn't feel this hatred anymore. She has no more hatred inside her. This was something so profound for her.
Ich stamme von Galizien, Polen. Heute ist das Ukraine.
I come from Galicia, Poland. Today it's the Ukraine. I was in the Nadworna ghetto near the town of Lemberg. 13 years, I was all alone in the world. I couldn't get out.
Für mich, das was kommen von Deutschland, Leute, von Freunde Bruno.
For me, that friends of Bruno come from Germany is a really big miracle. At the beginning, this was hardly believable for me. Unbelievable.
Ich glaube, das ist ein sehr großes.
I think this is historically great. I don't know the word in German, how to say this. What it means to me, that from Germany, from the German people, someone comes with all the love, with open hearts to help us.
Uns zu helfen.
Und wenn wir das tun können als Deutsche,
and if we, as Germans, are able to do this, not having had a good history during the Third Reich, then it's a wonderful thing to bring what is actually good news, what actually is salvation, to other nations.
was eigentlich das Heil bedeutet. Und das haben wir so erlebt.
And this is what we experienced when we went to England, in London, Birmingham, and Manchester. And as we later found out, these three cities were the first that were bombed. And we were deeply affected by that, and that we were received with love.
Brothers Damir and Ivo Kovacevic come from Croatia, but grew up in Germany. Here they heard about Bruno Gröning at the end of the 1980s. In 1995, Damir returns to Croatia to make a new life for himself. At this time, war is still raging in the former Yugoslavia.
Ja, bei uns war der Hass hier sehr ausgeprägt gewesen.
There was very deep hatred here, because of the war which erupted, and also before that. That's how the war started. It has caused absolutely dreadful damage, also in people, psychologically too. And this hatred still exists now. I deliberately say it was still here. We see it time and again. People come to the circle of friends, to the communities, and by taking in the healing power, and through this divine power, their thinking simply changes. Through the Heilstrom, the healing power, and taking it in and going to the community hours, they recognize it, and then they also really have the wish and the strength to let go of everything, so one can even give away hatred. And then you get the gifts. First, your own health returns. For instance, our Ms. Baratich with the healing of Sudex atrophy. That's how she received the healing. She realized this herself.
Many Bruno Gröning friends experienced how they were freed from feelings of hatred and revenge by taking in the Heilstrom, and how they could forgive their former enemies or torturers. In the former Yugoslavia, these kinds of healings are particularly numerous.
I studied history, and I saw that for this kind of hatred to diminish between nations, it often takes generations. It doesn't just happen overnight. But surprisingly, here it does in the same generation. For instance, I personally know a woman who said, "I will never go there again."
It happened when the war started. I simply blamed Serbia as a whole nation for everything that happened. I didn't want to have anything to do with this nation ever again. I vowed that when the war is over, and if I'm still alive, my feet will never, ever touch Serbian soil again.
She came along on a trip, and then
She's from Sarajevo, and she was the community leader there. In Sarajevo, a Serbian woman was in her community, and she asked her for help. And of course, she was a friend and her community leader, so she helped her. She had relatives in Serbia, and Ms. Josic had really sworn that she would never set foot on Serbian soil again. All of a sudden they said, "Yes, there will be an introduction lecture in Serbia." And she joined us and then told this story, and the 50 friends, the Serbian friends, were sitting there with tears in their eyes. I was there myself. She reported that in front of everyone.
And I told them how back then in Sarajevo I blamed them for everything, and that I never wanted anything to do with any of them again. And yet, here I am, and so happy to be here, and to see them all, and to tell them what a gift I have received because of this. I realized that I'm free at last, that there is no more anger, and that you have to forgive. When I was finished, there was silence. And when I looked at the people, I saw they were crying. There wasn't a dry eye in the house, and there were many men there too. And I became aware that we all felt the same, and that now, because of this teaching, we had been given the grace to be free again, free of this feeling that made us unhappy, that we didn't know, many of us didn't know. And this was what made it all so special. I knew that it was something very special for me, and I was so grateful. I'm grateful that I'm in this circle of friends.
Was wir hier erleben, was hier geschieht.
What we are experiencing, the things that are happening here, for instance, that we drive to Belgrade and we visit the communities. We come with several friends from Croatia and Slovenia, visit the friends here, sit together for several hours talking about the teaching. This is absolutely brilliant. Recently, we had the Zagreb conference and 25 Serbian friends came for the first time. We never had that many before. And for those people, well, there is nothing political going on, no political negotiations or anything like that. Just ordinary Serbian and Croatian citizens visit and talk to each other. I don't know if anything like that still exists anywhere. For me, this is really unique. It's especially fulfilling and gives me the impetus to keep going.
In New York, a very special tribute was given to the Bruno Groening Circle of Friends in May 2013. At the Ecumenical Tillman Chapel of the United Nations, the World Peace Prayer Society awards a peace pole to Dieter Häusler as representative of the Circle of Friends, a distinction which has been awarded to eminent personalities such as Nobel Peace Prize laureate Mother Teresa, the Dalai Lama, as well as Pope John Paul II.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the United Nations. I'd like to say something that
the World Peace Prayer Society, WPPS, is an NGO attached to the United Nations and has the goal to bring people of all countries together under the motto, "May peace prevail on earth." The award is presented by the UN representative of the WPPS, Reverend Deborah Moldow.
It's very special and very appropriate for the friends of Bruno Gröning to be here, and to be here now in this time that the Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has called a time of great transition. When our body is whole, we call it health. And when our world is whole, we call it peace. And as we heal ourselves, we heal our world. It's my honor to award a peace pole to the friends of Bruno Gröning today. And so with gratitude for the beautiful, selfless work of the friends of Bruno Gröning, I would like to present this peace pole on behalf of the World Peace Prayer Society to Dieter Häusler and Suzanne Royce. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I see it's a sign for Bruno Gröning and his work. And I see it's a sign for all the friends to continue his work, to make peace, love, and health on earth. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.